and welcome back to the Cricket Nerds podcast. I'm James. I'm joined by Zach. How you doing, Zach?
I was mixing it up there. You caught me off guard. You normally go to bench first. Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Brilliant, thanks. And how you doing, Benji?
Good. Enjoying my morning as our game's been rained off, which I expect is the same up and down the country in all of the club cricket in England. There you go. That was the oracle has spoken.
We've got some things to talk about today. Not our usual stuff, because obviously the IPL has now been postponed because of all the COVID cases in India. So I think, before we get into what we're going to talk about, we'll just put out our heartfelt well wishes, thoughts, and prayers to everyone in India at the moment. So today we are going to talk a little bit about the IPL being postponed. Then we're going to go on to sort of what this podcast is going to cover from, sort of the next few weeks and months. Then we're going to talk about our cricket team. We played our first ever match yesterday.
Not yet.
Oh no, sorry, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So we'll have a little chat about that, and then after that we'll talk about the Indian Test squad. So I imagine our title will hopefully include all of those talking points. It's going to be a really long title, but I think first of all we'll kick off talking about the IPL being postponed. So it's obviously a big shame, but they're talking about new locations. So where do we think it's going to be, lads?
Well, so I think the most likely it will be the UAE. That makes a lot more sense. That's where they're going to hold the T20 World Cup probably now, with the current situation in India. Although there's been a number of English counties that have come out and said that they would like to host it if they could. I think the draw for the IPL is the fact that it will just create so much money because it's this beast. It's going to have sold out stadiums no matter where it is. And if it does come to England, by the time we're in, September and November, which is, when the proposed date for rescheduling the IPL is, then, in England, with the COVID restrictions, it should potentially be allowed to have full stadiums. Obviously, these things are changing. My only concern would be late September, late November, to restart the IPL in England. The weather's not going to be on your side. Like, by the time you get into the end of September, that's normally when the T20 blast is sort of wrapping up. It's going to be a bit sketchy. So I think if it is that late, then it probably should be in UAE, because the worst thing is to have all these IPL matches rained off and called off, which is, would probably happen quite a lot that time of year. What do you think, Zach? What's your thoughts on the matter?
I just think if we have it in England, just think how great that summer's going to be. We've got England New Zealand Test matches, England India Test matches, the 100 T20 Blast,
County Championship.
County Championship. Then the IPL in September, and then it won't be long till the Ashes. So
And then we'll die happy. That's what
happened. So it would be really good if it was in England, but I think, rain is always the thing, isn't it? If you play in the UAE, you can guarantee you're going to get 95 to 100% of the matches played. In England, you're not as settled with those.
Right. How much? This is a quick question. How much would you pay to see? So Benji, Chennai, Zach, RCB. How much would you pay to see them in England?
I would like. So they're talking about Surrey, Warwickshire, potentially Lancashire. So we're talking Keir Oval, Edgbaston, and Old Trafford being the stadiums where they're going to play these games. I'd drive down that A42 so quickly to Edgbaston. If Chennai were playing Edgbaston, I'd be there instantly. I'd pay anything for a ticket. It would be so great just to see that team play. I mean, even though you can see all these players play anyway when you're watching the T20 Blast or your international matches, but just in that IPL scenario, it's just is a bit different, isn't it? Yeah, no, it would be awesome. Like I'd love to drive up to Manchester or down to Birmingham. It'd be so, yeah. And even better if there was an IPL match at Trent Bridge. How good would that be? That would just be the absolute ideal.
Well, we've got the 100 going on, which is the reason I'm excited about the 100 is the first time really England have a competition where the best players in the world are going to be playing for a smaller amount of teams. Like the 2020 Blast, yes, I know Chris Gale's played in the 2020 Blast before, and all sorts of other players, but the 100's going to be big, and so like we haven't seen those big players in England against each other.
Yeah.
And if the IPL's here, then you get to see the likes of Jasprit Bumrah roll into AB de Villiers and all these great players. And you don't really, that was a rarity maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but now it's becoming more likely that we get to see these amazing players.
In terms of high quality sort of short format on a regular basis, I think, yeah, the ECB have done a cracking job on the idea of the 100. Because I'm 100% with you. I think the T20 Blast, because they've got it for, is there a team for every single county?
Yeah, so because it's a domestic competition rather than it being a franchise competition.
Yeah, I think it's so much better for, like, if you have fewer teams, it's just a lot easier to follow. So I think it would have been a lot better, for me, if I was wanting to follow the T20 Blast after, I've only really liked cricket for the last couple of years. So, if I was trying to get into it, I'd be like, well, this is just a bit overwhelming. Whereas if I've got, 8 teams, 8 regions to choose from, then it's like, well, I'm just going to choose the nearest one to me. So, yeah, I guess that kind of feeds into what we're going to cover going forward. Because, internationals, 100, county championships, all of these sort of things we can chat about. We're going to do some more Cricket Nerds basics, for viewers that are wanting to get into cricket a bit more. Because like I say, I'm really new to cricket. I've sort of dived in the deep end, and I am a cricket nerd. But I'm very new to it. So things like the county championships, I've never followed them before. So that's something that I'm quite interested to get into. I got into cricket through the IPL, so that is always going to hold a special place in my heart, Punjab Kings. But yeah, I'm sort of along with some of our newer listeners. I'm along the journey with you. So yeah,
I only really
You go.
I only really follow the county championship at the start of the season. I think although I support Notts and I want them to do well, I'm not like massively invested in it. And I think the reason being is because a lot of the games they play are midweek. It's hard to go and watch it. And also on the weekend when I could go and watch it, I'm usually playing cricket. So it's hard for me to get invested because it's not on TV. I know they've recently started showing live streams on the individual teams' websites. But yeah, it's been harder to get into. But at the start of the season, it's actually quite interesting because you see players start to stand up and say, I want to play for England. And that's when it becomes good. And you can see, like this year, Ollie Pope, for example, he's already scored a double century, another big century to get into form for the summer. And also players like Hasib Hamid, who made his debut at the age of 19 in India, who has kind of fallen off the radar for Notts. He's suddenly making a comeback. And that's what I find exciting is you're seeing these test prospects start to stand up, and that's what I like.
Does anyone know when the World Cup actually starts? What's the date? Is it?
I want to say September or October. I can Google it really quickly while we're talking.
Yeah, because I keep talking about it, but I keep forgetting when it actually is starting. Like, it's later on in the year, isn't it? Because it was going to be in India.
Yeah, because it's after the England-India test series.
Which are in August, September, so it must be a bit later on than that.
Yeah.
So it looks like there's a bit of a busy schedule for the UAE in over the next the next
And it
couple
will
of.
have to be between September and November because that's when they're saying the IPL could finish.
I don't know if they've actually got an official starting date yet.
Well, they can't really with all the stuff going on, can they?
Yeah, I think they're just saying it's going to start in October.
Hmm?
Yeah, they. I think because it's had to be postponed so many times, they're kind of reluctant to just give a definite date. I could be absolutely wrong. This
It's
is from
scheduled between October and November.
yeah. So
There you go.
if I am wrong, it's because it's a 5-minute Wikipedia. But,
There you go. 18th of October is the first game. Sri Lanka versus Ireland.
Big game.
So I guess there's lots we can talk about. Like we can talk about the PSL, we can talk about county championship, maybe the 100. There's going to be so much coming up, and I guess we started this channel talking about IPL because that was the thing going on. But we're not a solely IPL channel. We're going to be covering all sorts of news that's going on, giving our sort of take on it, and we are cricket nerds, so we're gonna offer the best.
Oh, I think we should drop the word cricket nerds at least 10 times in every podcast just for branding. So yeah, if any of our viewers or listeners want us to cover anything, absolutely leave it down in the comments. It can be from the most basic, how do I read a score when I'm watching cricket, to, how does Rashid Khan get so much turn? So our next item is NCBC. So this is our team that we've started. It's not the most catchy name. It's not a Christadelphian Bamboom Cloud. So it's a mixture between our church and Benji's work. And yeah, so we played our first midweek T20 game on Thursday. It got rained off halfway through, but we got a solid batting innings. So yeah, for all of our Indian viewers, this is going to be a theme throughout all of English summer that we say the game got rained off. But yeah, we had a really good time. We're hoping that we're going to be able to sort of film a little bit of it, and we'll give maybe some weekly rundowns on how we did. Zach's our captain, so
Zach's
he
our
can
on-field captain, yeah. So
you can give a skipper's take.
Well, I thought it was a good first game. We
Yeah.
rained off. Yeah, I think because it's all friendlies, isn't it? So we're gonna have some opposition who are a lot better than us. We're gonna face some young teams which will absolutely flatten us. But yeah, we're also gonna face some dodgy opponents. But hopefully we'll get some coverage going and make it entertaining for you.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get people invested in the players as well, because it's a very nice group of lads.
maybe we'll get a few of the players on the podcast to give their thoughts about the about the matches. I'd like to see Joseph come on to talk about his impressive 30 before he had a wild swipe and lost his middle peg.
Yeah, our aim is to be the most professional, unprofessional team there is.
No, yeah, it was. I agree. It was really good fun. I mean, I was really enjoying my batting until somebody ran me out. No names being mentioned. And
you know what? Let's address this. Let's address live on the podcast. So, as I have previously stated, I have only been interested in cricket very, very recently, and I have only ever really played in the nets with these lads. So I'm very new, and this was my first time actually running between the wickets. So to say I wasn't a bit ropey was being very kind to myself. Yeah, I turned down quite a few singles because I just didn't think we'd be able to make it in time. However, on one of these, Benji took a wild swipe at the ball and missed it, which was very trademark. And the ball rolled down past the wicketkeeper. So I said, yes, there's one. And so I started running. I was at the non-striker's end, so it was my call. And Benji said, no. So I said, okay. And I started making my way back. And then Benji makes the esteemed decision to start running towards me. At which point I'm like, okay, I guess we're running again. So I start running, and then Benji stops, turns around, makes a little bit of a dive, and gets run out. So it was a bit of a shambles, but I made a lovely little cameo of 18 runs after that. So I think it was worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it. I think it was good. It was good. I think I played one lovely, nice little on drive down to mid off, down to mid on that James turned down the single for. Um, but no,
Yeah, so hopefully,
it was definitely good fun. Yeah, we only managed to. So James and I are both bowlers. Realistically, we only really managed to get what 2, 3 and a bit overs in before we had to call off the game because the rain was coming on a little bit too hard. So yeah, it will be good fun to see how it goes for the rest of the season. We're playing, all being well, next Thursday is our next game against a club development side. So it's going to be a bunch of juniors that are going to absolutely steamroll us. But you know, we're ready for it. We're here for it, and we'll have a good time doing it. But yeah, we'll hopefully bring you a bit of our midweek T20 content. Get the captain's thoughts on the games, and maybe we'll do a few match report videos too. You might even be able to get to see a little bit of a proper village cricket, and then tell us exactly what we're doing wrong in the comments.
So let's stop waffling about ourselves, and let's start waffling about the Indian Test squad. This is the only bit of actual cricket news we've got.
Yep.
India have released their squad for the Test Championship final and for the Tour of England. Am I right?
Yes, you are correct.
So it's a pretty standard squad, except there are a couple of quite notable omissions. From what I've read, there is going to be no Bhuvneshwar Kumar, which is actually quite surprising. There's no Kuldeep Yadav, which is slightly less surprising, and there's no Hardik Pandya, which I'm actually really surprised about. So Zach, do you want to give your thoughts?
My take on it is there are some interesting players in there, and there are a few that I've not really heard of, like Hanuma Vihari. I think our interviewers will probably give us some more information on him, or I could do some digging, get some stats on. But yeah, I've never really heard of him, and then to leave out someone like Bhuvneshwar Kumar is quite surprising because lots of people, lots of better pundits than us, say that he is the second best swing bowler in the world behind James Anderson. In terms of his skill, his seam position, the way he moves the ball. And I would be surprised if he's just been left out purely on his IPL performance, which it seems weird because like the skill that he possesses in England using the Duke's ball, that it just seemed a no-brainer to pick him. So I'm very confused as to why he's been left out.
It's interesting though because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Bhuvi's not been a particularly red ball focused player. Like, we didn't see him at all in the red ball matches during England's tour of India, mostly because the dirt tracks that they were playing on were very kind to spinners. But potentially that might be the thinking there. Like, in order to take Bhuvneshwar Kumar, you'd have to leave out one of Ishant Sharma, Mohammad Shami, Jasprit Bumrah or Shardul Thakur, who, you know, between those guys, Shardul Thakur, let's get the names right. Those guys are more out and out red ball bowlers. So I'd sort of expect to see, you know, a top 3 bowling attack of Sharma, Shami and Bumrah. That would be what I'd expect to see. With maybe Jadeja in there as an all-rounder, then one of Ashwin or Akshar Patel as your bowlers, and then, you know, you've got your selection of your batsmen, which is definitely India's very, very, very strong suit. A couple of interesting points. They've named KR Rahul and Sahar both in the squad, who they need to have their fitness cleared. We talked about it in a previous podcast. KR Rahul or actually maybe we didn't actually.
I don't think we managed to cover it, no.
He had severe abdomen pain, and it turned out they had appendicitis, so he was in hospital, couldn't play the last Punjab Kings game. So James was very pleased that Darren Milan finally got a game.
Yeah, solid 26 from 26. He's aiming to get in the red ball side, I think.
But yeah, it'd definitely be interesting. Like, there's the names. There's a lot of names that we would expect in there. So Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Agarwal, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Pant, obviously. So yeah, it's a strong squad. I would say. The leaving out of Pandyas, Hardik and Krunal. I mean, Krunal doesn't really play that much red ball, but Hardik, I think he looked a bit unfit, and I think he potentially was a little bit injured during the last bit of the IPL. Like, he wasn't bowling very much. He was pretty much just in there as batting. So that could be why. And actually, yeah, it's been reported that he had a bit of a shoulder problem during the IPL, which is why he didn't bowl much for Mumbai. So there we go. It's an interesting one.
I think India they've got a very strong squad.
Yeah.
Like, we can't lie about that. Like, their bowlers, even though they have left out Bhuvneshwar Kumar, they're fast bowlers in terms of Bumrah, Yadav, Umesh Yadav, Mohammad Siraj, Mohammad Shami, Ishant Sharma, and Shardul Thakur. They're all very good fast bowlers. But my only thing with that is they've picked 4 spinners. So they've got Akshar Patel, Ashwin, Jadeja, and Washington Sundar. And you don't need 4 spinners in England, because if they're playing Ashwin and then Jadeja as an all-rounder, like, you've got Sundar and Akshar Patel. You're not playing in India where you need 3 or 4 spinners. It's England where the ball's going to swing. And also, although they have some very strong batsmen who have proven themselves at Test level, I'd say only Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, and maybe Rohit Sharma have faced the red swinging ball in English conditions and are used to that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how their younger players like Shubman Gill, like Agarwal, how they fare against that moving red ball.
I'm
as well.
I'm very excited to see Rishabh Pant batting against Chris Wokes in England, Jimmy Anderson in England, Stuart Broad in England, with the red ball swinging. Yeah, I think Jofra and Mark Wood, like, you get what you get. You don't get much swing. You just get fast deliveries. So yeah, it's going to definitely be interesting to see that. Interesting too as well. I mean, New Zealand haven't announced their squad yet for the final to face India. It's going to be interesting to see who they bring. You'd expect Kane Williamson is in a real good place right now. I think New Zealand are going to probably produce a very, very strong opposition for New Zealand for India. I'd say, with Trent Bolt in there. You've got your it's just such a quality side, like, and again, Trent Bolt was swinging the white ball like there was no tomorrow. So Trent Bolt with the Dukes in England, again, more danger there, I think.
Yeah. So I think we're going to provide more updates on Test squads as they come out. So yeah, I think we'll probably wrap it up there if you lads are all right with that. It was a bit of admin and a nice little update. And so I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, follow us on all social medias. We're at Cricket Nerds Pod.
Yes, we are.
And I find it easy when you don't tell me to do it. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon. So have a good one.
Take care.
Yeah.